really...
That's crazy.
I just don't see how he can't say, how he could say that, how he could not see that.
You know, I usually am the one that you guys make fun of for not really knowing enough about sports, but I've been watching you coach baseball and know enough about what it means to be on a team. And if one member of the team is not comfortable, or two or three, why would anybody on that team go? I don't get it.
Well,
I mean, isn't it all about unity?
Well, the flip side on that is to the guys that did go, look, if it's a chance in my life, look, you know how I feel about Trump, to go to the White House, I shouldn't be denied that just because you just. So the same way the guys have the right to stay home, the guys have the right to go.
Actually, I don't think that applies. Because the reasons why these players didn't go are so much more important than getting a free trip to the White House.
But hold on a second. So this is why
Stick with
it's
your
difficult.
team.
This is why there are some difficult parts of this. Willie, I'm not going to tell a 23-year-old kid from Texas
he can't go.
That may never get a chance to go to the White House again. You've got to make a political statement, even if you don't follow politics. No, come on.
Yeah.
So that's the difficulty. Which is, who's going to tell a 23-year-old kid from Texas who gets one shot in his lifetime to go to the White House, no, you can't go, you need to sit back. That said, I mean, you've played a lot of sports, I've played a lot of sports. This is on a level, of course, that we can't even imagine, but man, it's about the unit. Yeah. It's about the team. It's like, I don't care if you're the best player on the team or the worst player on the team. You're running onto the field, you're running off of the field. You talk bad. I mean, I even teach it with young kids. You say one thing bad about your teammate, you're going to hear from me, and then you're going to sit on the bench.
It's about the team.
We're a family. Mm-hmm. We're a unit. I don't know how this happened. Altuve, he went for the Astros. Didn't want to go, but he's like, okay, I'm going to go for the unit. It works both ways, though. There's not one white guy on that team that couldn't have said, you know what? Hey, Tom, John, can you get me to the White House like 3 or 4 months from now? Maybe I'll get a tour. I'm going to stay back
with my team,
with the guys who are uncomfortable, because this is the most racist. Like, come on, this is the most racist president, you know, and certainly in our lifetime. You can talk about Charlottesville. You can talk about what he said about Hispanics. You can talk about what he said about Puerto Ricans. He's called Hispanics breeders.
Come on,
he's attacked immigrants. I've got to say, and also, there's a player on the team that I've always loved. There was, when asked why he was going, he said, well, I was born in America, I'm going to die in America, I'm going to live in America my entire life. Guess what? Oh. Big Papi, he wasn't born in America. An immigrant. A lot of the players that, like, helped us win last year, immigrants. I don't get this.
Well, we don't know what happened in the locker room. We don't know what's been going on there. But what I will say is that Alex Cora, the manager of the team, who's an excellent manager who the players love, as you know better than I do, he's Puerto Rican. And so he said, he's been on the radio in Boston saying, I went in the locker room and I said, look, guys, here's why I'm not going. I'm Puerto Rican. I know the people are suffering there. I have family that's suffering there. I have friends who are suffering there. I don't think this government, I don't think this president has done the right thing by Puerto Rico. That's why I'm not going. And so I don't think he went in and said, because I'm not going, you can't go either. I think he just presented the case. He said, you guys have to make your own decision, and let's work it out in this room together. If you want to go, go. If you don't want to go, don't go. But I don't think it's as big a thing in that locker room. If I'm reading it right, and if I'm hearing it right from the people who know the organization well, I don't think they're having a war in the locker room.
A team separate anywhere is not good.
And Kimberly, that's certainly, again, what we've all been hearing is that that most of them are handling like Christian Vasquez, a catcher, where the press kept asking, what do you think? And he's like, it's a personal decision, bro.
Right.
Okay, it's personal. Kind of like saying, none of your business. Each of us are going to make our own decision, and then we're going to be fine with it.
Yeah, it was left up to be a personal decision to each of these players, but it's also very complicated. If, let's say, for example, if all the team said, okay, well, some of the players are uncomfortable going, then nobody's going to go. That would have turned into a huge political story and put the Red Sox right in the center of that. By doing it this way, leaving it the personal decision of each player, it prevented that from happening. It prevented the president from disinviting the team and, again, politicizing it. And the president didn't even mention it during ceremony. I was sure he was going to say something about Puerto Rico, but he didn't. And in that sense, it kept the Red Sox out of the center of this as much as they could be. They're already in the center just by what happened, but it could have been worse. And I think that is one thing that I think the players considered.
And Walter Isaacson, the guy who should have been manager of the year, who was just absolutely extraordinary last year, Alex Cora, and he was extraordinary because he had such a bond with his players. He also made every call right down the stretch. But Alex Cora not only is from Puerto Rico, that's been his issue. He's used the success of the Red Sox to raise money for the Puerto Rican people and to bring relief to Puerto Rico. I don't think there's any way in the world he could have ever gone to the White House with Puerto Rico suffering the way it is.
No, and I know how strong you feel about the Red Sox. I don't know if you remember, but I was at a game with you a few months ago. And, you know, I know how much you love Alex Cora and the whole team. But this is a symbol, this is another example of what Donald Trump has done to America, which is, once again, divide us even more on racial lines and ethnic lines. It's the opposite of what sports is supposed to do for our society. It's the opposite of what a president's supposed to do for our society. Those are supposed to be the healing units who represent us all. And I think the Red Sox probably navigated the best way they could. But Alex Cora, I can see why he can't possibly go to the White House.
No way.
And I think it's a bigger thing than just the Red Sox. It's a symbol of what Trump has done to this country, which is we're now resegregating, and people are doing it intentionally.
And let's not beat around the bush here, Peter Baker. I mean, we could go through the list again. I mean, what if you're a Hispanic player for the Red Sox and Donald Trump has called all Hispanics breeders and has attacked Mexicans and has called...
And I think we can agree on this.
And has called some countries...
you know what,
in Caribbean countries where some of these players come from, S-hole countries, as you look at Charlottesville. I mean...
Come on.
There's an awful lot to overlook if you're a Hispanic player seeing your teammates going to the White House and smiling with this guy.
Yeah, and it's such a change, you know, of course. There have been times in the past where an individual player, individual person refused to come to the White House under Bush or Obama or some other president because they had a particular policy difference or what have you. But we've never seen anything like this, where a president who's supposed to be a unifying figure in our society, supposed to be a leader of the country despite whatever differences we might have about policy, is now routinely seeing this kind of thing happen. And we can say that it's about what the president has done in particular. We can also talk about, you know, where our country has gotten to the point where, you know, just a simple visit to the White House, which is meant to be a ceremonial act, an act of national, you know, a national moment, not a politics moment, and yet now it's become a politics moment. It's almost inevitable, and it can't. It's hard to see how that goes back.
Yeah, and in a way, the clearest moment of that, and talking of teams sticking together, was when the Virginia men's basketball team won. They hadn't actually. The White House was discussing the invitation, having them all up there, and they said no thanks straight off. The whole team didn't go. The team did stick together, and they feel particularly aggrieved because it was Charlottesville and because of all the comments from the president about Charlottesville. And there was apparently no question in the team's mind that they were going to go to the White House.
And you're talking about a 23-year-old white player who might have his first chance to go to the White House, and you've got to let him have that opportunity. How about the Hispanic player, the African player who would love to go to the White House, but just can't because the president is racist and he can't do it? That should be much more important than having to have your first trip to the White House.
Well, but you know what? Hold on.
You've got to stick with your team.
That is, Mika, that's easy for somebody who was playing in the White House at 9 years old. For a lot of people, this is their one chance. I can tell you, a guy from the Redneck Riviera, the first time I walked in the White House, it was... I mean, it is. So I'm not judging that 23-year-old kid. All I'm saying is this could have been handled better where, you know, who knows so.
I think I'm judging management.
Maybe you can't force.
Maybe, Donnie, maybe I'm hopeful that somebody like Andrew Benintendi went to JBJ and Mookie and say, hey, listen, we're brothers here. I mean, we've got the best outfield in the majors. I'd really like to go to the White House.
And
Is that
hand the president a racist